changed and machines came into Americans' minds, families were forced to send children over the age 2 to work in factories to survive tough times. For 80 long years, children gave up their studies and did whatever they could to support themselves and their families. Children were able to be paid far less than most adult workers, which made it no problem for the managers to hire kids just so they can save a few bucks. Unfortunately, the amount of pay for labor dropped as more and more people began to get hired. The factory owners only had so much money to give, and it was pointless to argue with the manager, since that could lead to unemployment. One thing for sure was that it wasn't safe to hire kids that were 2 years older, because it caused many unknown deaths and diseases. Factories caught fire, machines blew up, and many injuries were all major effects on people working in factories. The most common jobs children acquired during the 1800s ranged from working in machines and factories to breaking coal in coal mines. Families couldn't afford to provide their kids with 3 hot meals, let alone new clothes. Most kids spent 10 to 14 hours a day working to get little reward. Some factories were made to hire whole family units so no one would have to go home and they could work from sunup to sundown. And despite the fact that life felt like a tunnel with no exit, a few kids managed to find a way out. They fought for the right to go back to school, to enjoy their childhood, and not to be burdened with so many responsibilities. Although people were unable to find names of protesters in the late 1800s, a few kids were interviewed to tell society how they were treated in the mills. Miss Hannah Brown stated, "I started working in the mills at age 9. I was given no breaks and I worked from 6 o'clock to 9 at night. I was allowed no meals and felt a great deal of pain in my legs." Hannah told the interviewer punishment was very high in the mills, and she had seen great relations of hers pulled by the hair about 3 or 4 yards away. After Sarah Goodwin had ran away from the factory, she had said, "I was so afraid and dateless with the punishment I had received that for a long time I was like a person with no wits." I was working for about 11 hours a day, but over time this had increased to 15, 16, and sometimes 18 hours, Generally had said in 1832 interview. I have seen my own children seem quite lively, but towards the end of the week, they began to get flagged. And despite everybody's ups and downs, there's always a rainbow after a hurricane and a spotlight on every stage. As Americans, we stand up for what we believe in and forge our own path. And a mark was finally etched on people's brains during the 1833 protest. The government passed an act that limited the freedom of factories to use child labor. There were now requirements in place that no kid younger than age 9 could be hired. Children between the ages 9 to 13 could only work 9 hours each day, and a child between the ages 14 to 18 could only work for 12 hours each day. No child was allowed to work the night shift, and there would be inspectors checking each factory a few times a day. As life progressed, child labor continued to be an issue in the U.S. It didn't really seem to go away until the Great Depression approached Americans. At this time, child labor had started to die down because all the work was limited for adults and there were too many immigrants looking for jobs. If not for these acts that happened over 189 years ago, the United States would be a very different place. Today, at the age of 13, you can't go out and find a job working. This is because of those laws that are still in force today. The main reasons protesters wanted to stop child labor was to give children an education and for safety. Remember, these children were working for 12 to 14 hours. That's crazy, because heaven knows nowadays we couldn't survive 13 hours with nothing but machines to entertain us. We should feel lucky that in this new era, we have a chance to go to school and learn. This was the reason people wanted to move to America, because it is a free country with very little boundary. Say what you think, do what you want, and I think it's amazing that we are able to express our thoughts like people did back then. It shows we're not limited by our differences, and that with a little persistence, you can accomplish anything.